Ramaswamy joins us right now. The Strive Asset Management Executive Chairman, Nations of Victims, the best-selling author there. You know, Vivek, this new standard that I hear being applied to Elon Musk is very different than what applied to the old Twitter, where marginalizing conservative talk and views was okay, but now just offering all types of views not okay. And that's just for starters. What do you think of the reception that Musk is getting?
Look, I think this is revealing a fundamental debate we need to have in our country. Are we a nation of free speech or are we not? That used to be a left-wing value. Today, it's a value that's embraced by the right. But I don't think, Neil, that this should be a partisan issue. I don't think it is a partisan issue. I think America is at its best when we have a free speech and culture of open debate. And I think that Twitter can be a better company with free speech and open debate as well, not inadvertently alienating not only half the country, but even some of its most valuable customers and users in the process. And I think one of the sources of pressure on Elon Musk, as you just hit on, is likely going to be advertisers pressuring him to make sure that this is not a free speech platform, which in turn is why I think this business move he's making now fits that vision really well, to say that the business can reduce its reliance on advertisers so that it can truly realize its new mission to be a platform for free speech across the political spectrum.
Some of those advertisers aren't even giving the guy a chance, though, Vivek, to your point. I think General Motors, just on some of the noise they were hearing, they were holding back. I imagine a number of other blue chip advertisers might do the same, but I didn't see their concern about stilted opinion when it was all one way in the prior regime.
Of course. I mean, the hypocrisy of corporate America is laughable. It has been for a long time. I mean, just one example, many advertisers beginning to say that if he allows President Trump back on the platform, signaling that they will now lose their customer relationship with Twitter, even as they say nothing as dictators and despots from other country are making actively violent statements on Twitter and elsewhere as they continue to tweet freely. That includes, by the way, the Taliban as it was taking over Kabul. So this is, of course, hypocrisy at its worst, but it's not unfamiliar. I think the deeper question, though, is it's up to Elon Musk to set a clear path forward to say that, yes, some content moderation is required for Twitter to be a usable platform at all. I'm talking about spam, pornography, the kinds of things that would litter a user's feed and make the platform unusable, while still saying our North Star is going to be the fact that we do not discriminate on the basis of viewpoints. No viewpoint-based discrimination. And the difficult part is that means hate speech is no longer a category because hate speech is really just someone else's opinion. That's the part that's uncomfortable for corporate advertisers, but that's part of the reality of what it means to operate a free speech platform. And I hope Elon, and I believe he will, has the spine to see that through to the end.
You know, you have to wonder, though, because hate speech is always in the eye of the beholder, right? And then, of course, it was deemed hate speech with any conservative thought and quieting and shutting that down. Now, if, let's say, all is fair game on a Twitter site that will entertain all points of view, and you have advertisers balking, they take away the cool factor that Twitter had, or at least the way it's portrayed. Twitter isn't cool anymore, and the more Musk does this, the less cool it's going to be, and we'll make sure he suffers as a result. What do you think?
I personally think the more cool it becomes. Remember that actually free speech was actually an iconoclastic progressive value only a few decades ago. But there's also a solution, a technical solution to this, Neil, one that I've advocated on the pages of the Wall Street Journal and elsewhere, is that, you know what, if you like the current censorship regime as a user, don't change a thing. Just give the user the ability to opt into that. So that way you give the decision back to the user. What's cooler than that? Decentralization. Give power back to the individual. Let the individual user say, you know what, I don't want to see what I consider to be hate speech or what you even Twitter considered or used to consider to be misinformation. Give me the same censorship protocols. But for everyone else, you could say that, you know what, I'm going to opt into an open set of protocols that allows me to see what I actually need to see. And I think that's a hard argument for someone to overcome, to say that empowering the user is not the right answer here, rather than a single top-down determination for everyone.
But Vivek, are you concerned? And I read that before in your approach to this, which I thought was brilliant. But some are going to interpret that, all right, that Vivek is standing by some sort of policing going on, but you have the option to opt out into a system that won't have that policing going on. So aren't you ceding to that sect of the population that wants to be sort of babied in this?
I mean, look, that's a deeper problem in our culture that social media is not going to fix. I mean, you have the echo chambers on cable news media on a given night, people tuning in and hearing what they want to hear, what websites people go to. I think it's a problem in our culture. I don't want to see echo chambers and silos, but that's not something that Twitter is going to uniquely be able to fix. That's something we need to fix in our culture. At the end of the day, we do live, for better or worse, I think for the better, in a free country where people are free to choose what they do and don't get to see on the internet. But the problem with Twitter over the last several years, and Facebook and other social media platforms too, is that they violated that principle by saying that, no, we're going to make a centralized top-down determination of what everyone gets to see. And I say that's what needs to end. And you know what? Would I regret it if users just segregate themselves into siloed echo chambers? Yeah, I think that's regrettable, but that's our job to fix as citizens through our culture. That's too much to ask of Twitter.
And be leery of anyone who tries to police that content, because what are they deciding that ultimately judges that content? It's very dangerous.
Exactly. And I think there could be multiple approaches. I think at the end of the day, decentralization means that each user gets to set their own filters and settings. Here's the kinds of things I want to see. Here's the kinds of things I don't want to see. But that's a very hard system to argue with, to say that people shouldn't be free to determine for themselves what they see on the internet. Now, with an advertising model, that becomes difficult because the company is beholden to have its revenue streams ultimately buttered by other corporations. But now if you charge the user, you say the user is back in charge. If you're getting value out of this platform, great, pay for it. But at the end of the day, if you're the one paying for it, you also have a say in determining what you do and don't get to see. I think that's an unassailable approach that still protects free speech and open discourse to the extent a social media platform can. And after that, the rest of it's up to our citizenry to reawaken our own civic commitments to free speech and open debate, which I think is the next frontier in our culture.
I think that's brilliant, Vivek. So you should run the other way, because I agree with you on that. But anyway, Vivek, you make people think, because we've all gotten a little too thin-skinned here. But a very good read on that. Vivek Ramaswamy, the Strive Asset Manager and Executive Chairman, Nation.